The cold Ukrainian night has a way of swallowing every sound, every breath, every hint of color. At 02:13 local time, all you can hear near the southern railway corridor is the distant rhythm of steel wheels over metal. Russia's war engine still grinding, still feeding Crimea. For months, the rail line has been the artery that keeps the occupation alive. Tonight, that artery bleeds. I'm crouched behind a half-collapsed concrete wall, a notebook pressed against my chest, when the first whisper reaches us, not from the sky, but through a radio headset. A Ukrainian drone operator somewhere kilometers away in a dimly lit mobile command truck murmurs, "They're on course, all birds stable, 30 seconds to impact." There is no roar, no jet, no flurry of rotors, only the distant hum of electric propellers slicing through the dark. Ukraine's new generation of long-range UAVs, sleek, lean, and almost silent, are streaking low over the fields, hugging the terrain like shadows with intent. Then the night tears open. A bloom of orange bursts along the tracks, a pulse, a shockwave. The sound rolls over us like a giant exhaling anger. A Russian train, heavy with fuel and ammunition, becomes a pillar of flame. The blast lifts several wagons off the rails, tossing them sideways like toys kicked by an impatient child. The air thickens with the smell of burning diesel, chemical vapors, and twisted metal. Someone mutters, "Direct hit!" The sky flickers again, this time to the south. Another drone slams into a border radar station, one of the last functioning Russian early warning systems watching the approaches to Crimea. For months, analysts believed the site was reinforced, hardened, nearly impossible to hit. Tonight it glows as the flames consume it. The ground beneath us vibrates. Even from kilometers away, I can feel the echo of the explosion in my ribs. Ukrainian commanders later tell me the operation involved a combination of fixed-wing kamikaze drones and longer-range multi-stage UAVs. They won't disclose models, but sources hint at the new Beaver-XL configurations. Larger warheads, better guidance, quieter approach. The plan was simple but brutal. Cut the rail line, blind the border radars, crack open Crimea's shield. For months, Russian logistics officers had relied on predictable routes. They believed the night, fog, and fortified rail depots made them untouchable. But Ukrainian engineers have evolved. Every week brings a new flight profile, a new jammer shell, a new guidance tweak. The operator team I meet afterward, 3 men and 1 woman, all exhausted, described the mission with an unsettling calm, the kind that only comes from repetition. "We flew low," the lead operator says, "really low. A few meters above the ground, terrain masking. Their radars never saw us." He taps a dimly lit screen still showing the last frozen frame before impact. A Russian locomotive, headlights piercing the dark, seconds away from becoming scrap. By dawn, smoke pillars rise like funeral candles across the horizon. The railway yard is a battlefield of its own kind. Scorched rails curl upward. Tanker cars lie gutted, charred black. Ammunition boxes spill across the gravel, cooking off with small, sharp pops long after the explosions. A stray dog trots by, nose twitching, confused by the smell. Fire crews, Russian emergency units, scramble around the wreckage hours too late, their sirens faint and almost apologetic. They work fast, but without hope. Some rail sections have melted entirely, exposed like bones beneath burnt flesh. Local sources whisper that this strike alone could cut off southern supplies for weeks. One Ukrainian officer simply says, "We wanted the world to hear it." Then he looks at the burning horizon. Tonight, they heard. The second target was far more strategic. Russian radars near the border region have been part of a layered detection network meant to keep Ukrainian drones from entering Crimea. Taking one out is more than a military blow. It's psychological. When we reached the outskirts of the installation at sunrise, the air was still warm with the memory of fire. A communications tower lay snapped in half, cables dangling like veins torn from a body. The radar dish, normally rotating with mechanical calm, now sat twisted and blackened, its surface warped into a shape that no longer resembled a military instrument, more like a melted sculpture from an era that had lost its meaning. Blackened earth fanned out in a perfect circle where the drone hit. You can trace the blast lines like a map of destruction. This wall pushed outward, that generator crushed inward. Control rooms collapsed under their own weight. I found a charred clipboard among the rubble, shift schedules, handwritten notes, a coffee stain. A reminder that people, bored, tired, human, manned this place just hours ago. War has no interest in the lives of those who stand watch. Russian channels went into a familiar chaos. Contradictory messages, claims of intercepted targets, then sudden silence. But even in silence, the truth leaks through the cracks. Satellite feeds show the radar station offline. Rail traffic cameras, normally public, cut out, then return showing emptiness. Russian military bloggers, their voices trembling with both fear and anger, report the worst railway attack in months. One post reads simply, "Crimea is an island again." In the fields near the railway, I meet a local farmer who watched the attack from his barn window. His hands shake as he describes it. "It was like lightning," he says, lightning that came from the wrong direction. He tells me the ground moved. He felt it through his boots. He had seen fire before, explosions even, but nothing like this. Beside the tracks, among the debris, lies a single Russian soldier's helmet, dented and dust-covered. No body near it. Maybe the soldier survived, maybe he didn't. In war zones, objects remain long after their owners vanish. The Ukrainian crew who launched the drones watched the footage in silence. There's no cheering, no celebration, only quiet acknowledgement. One of them finally says, "We don't enjoy this, but we're fighting to live. They're fighting to stay." The strikes do more than destroy steel and equipment. They announce a turning point. Crimea, long believed by Russia to be unreachable, is increasingly vulnerable. Russia's logistics lifeline is fraying, and Ukrainian drone warfare has matured into something far more precise, far more lethal, and far more relentless than Moscow predicted. As the smoke continues rising from the tracks and the crippled radar base, the message echoes across the front. Ukraine can reach deep. Ukraine can cut supply lines. Ukraine can blind the Russian military, not with massive fleets, not with overwhelming firepower, but with ingenuity, persistence, and drones built in repurposed warehouses lit by flickering lights. Tonight, those drones changed the map. Hours after the dust settles, the fields remain quiet, too quiet, the kind of quiet that follows something irreversible. As I pack my camera and notebook, a Ukrainian soldier passing by stops and tells me, "Remember this night, they won't forget it." He looks toward Crimea, where the rising sun glints off the lingering smoke. Neither will I, because what happened here tonight wasn't just a strike. It was a warning. And war, like the night sky, carries every warning forward into the next battle, the next mission, the next decision that reshapes a front line. This war isn't over. But tonight, for the first time in a long time, the battlefields spoke loudly, and Ukraine's voice carried far.